Welcome back to another episode of Recovery Life. My name is Latoya, and we are back. I am going to allow my guests to introduce themselves. I'll start right here with you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. My name is Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Thank you. My name is Jenny. Thank you for having me back on the show.
Thank you for coming back.
You're welcome.
My name's Kristina. Thank you again for having me back on the show.
And I'm glad you're back. And I we were having a conversation before the cameras started rolling, and we were talking about rehab, right?
Right.
And what the conversation sounds like when you first get to rehab. When you first call, you got the gift of desperation, right? I'll do anything. Just give me that bed. I'm gonna change my life. I don't want to ever touch drugs again. This is it for me. Please just give me this bed. And then what happens?
Well, I think you get there and you get comfortable, and it becomes kind of everyday routine. And I think your disease, or I know for me personally, I get a little cocky. I got this. I don't need it. And you do like the shortest. Some people do the shortest amount of time that they can, and then you're back out into the community again, and the real world hits you again.
That's right.
Yeah.
What happens?
I mean, for me in the beginning, when I first started trying to get clean, I would always leave, right? Oh, I can't do this. Oh, the streets are calling me again. And we were talking about one of the last times that I went to rehab when I really wanted to get clean, and I wound up getting COVID. And my disease convinced me I couldn't be alone in a room with just my cell phone for 14 days, so I left. But like Jen said, like the gift of desperation and stuff, I found myself going right back to the same rehab with no desire to leave. And knowing that if I did, I literally had nowhere to go. Like I was on the streets, not in a bando, not in a hotel, not on somebody's couch, on the streets. And I begged to stay for as long as I could, and then came into a sober house.
And I like to hear like the different walks, because myself personally, 27 rehabs it took, and the 27th rehab was the one that I actually chose, and it was for me. What is it that happens between not getting it and getting it?
Good question. Not getting it. Everybody doesn't get it on their first try, and come out, intend to come out, and they think they can live the same life that they used to. They can have the same routine, same habits, same people in their life. And then it's only until you get kind of desperate and older, as your disease progresses over the years, you lose more and more and more as it goes. And that, for me personally, I hit an age where I'm tired. I'm tired of the disease and tired of losing things, and it became desperate for me. It's either my disease or survival and live, and wanting better things for my life.
And wanting something different, so the change.
Correct.
Do you remember what it's like when you, in the difference?
So for me, all the times that I thought I had hit rock bottom, I had realized we're at my rock bottom. And I was telling somebody the other day, like, it took me no longer being the addict that I know, becoming somebody I had, like, the worst possible version of myself. Like, I was used to my addiction, used to how things would go. Maybe, I'd hit, oh, you're homeless, or, oh, something bad happened on the streets. But when I no longer could even recognize who I was myself in my addiction, that's when I knew I had to change.
And so we were talking also about, we were saying about the fourth time going to a particular place, and I, being 27, I've been to all of them a lot of time, And you don't know when that time is going to be that you actually wake up and you really say, I'm sick of my own shit. Because they talk about the spiritual awakening, and a lot of people don't realize that that's what that is. When you wake up and you find out that you don't have to go cop before you eat breakfast, that's a spiritual awakening. What was your awakening like when you realized?
I realized when it was probably like 60 days into living in a sober house that I woke up and I felt things, and I wasn't sick. I hadn't been sick prior to that because I had detoxed, but I'm here. I'm physically here and I'm present. And people used to say, thank God, or whatever your higher power may be. Every morning you get up and put your feet on the ground, right? Whatever my higher power, my higher power for the first time, I dangled my legs on the bed
Mhm.
and I looked around and I'm like, I'm safe
That's right.
and I'm not sick and I'm okay.
That's
I'm
right.
okay.
What about you?
For me, it was probably right when I started to realize that I was becoming more self-aware. But not just self-aware, but able to practice those things in my daily life. Because I've always been told, like every rehab or whatever, like, oh, you're so wise, like you understand what needs to be done, you can tell other people what to do, but you can't apply it in your own life. And it was when I started to apply those things in my life that I realized, you know, I'm no longer dependent on any substance, including, you know, Matt. I was able to go on business trips out of the state. I was able to grow as a person and not have anything controlling my life but myself.
I love that. And just for the viewers to understand, like I chose the two of you to come back together because you are two of the strongest women that I know. And
Thank
together, like I knew that the message would be so clear and that people would actually embrace everything that's going to happen in this conversation today.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when you're in the mix of recovery, when you're still going through the wilderness, life is showing up every single day.
It is.
And it is not being kind, and it's not caring that you have clean time, and it's not giving a shit that you have a bed now. Life is going to show up, whether you got the rent money or whether you don't, whether you got the car or you don't. What is it like when you have to no longer reach for something to cope with? What are you reaching for these days to cope?
I guess I'll start because most recently, this past like week or two, that's really kind of been the predicament that I'm in. I reach out for support, like with the girls. A lot of the times, if I go to a meeting or a group or like even walk in the house, a lot of them are like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And like I did, I had a lot of stuff going on, to the point where one person's word to me, their choice of what they were going to do about a certain situation that occurred was either going to send me out on another run or I was going to stay. And I had been contemplating that for a long time. Maybe like 2 or 3 days. I was like, I wish they would say this. Like I wanted an excuse. But as I didn't have the excuse and like the time went on, like the girls came around me and I just forced myself to do the things that I didn't want to do. I wanted to lay in bed and sleep, and I do a lot of that now, especially since like I just got a new job and they cut my hours down to 10 hours a week. I can't survive on that. So, which is another thing. But finally having the support of outside people, but not allowing the support of others to make or break me.
Okay.
You know, that was huge for me early in recovery with every other time. If I wasn't accepted, if I didn't belong, if I thought people didn't like me, if something didn't go my way, I would run because the streets accepted me, or so I thought. But this time, it's different because I accept me and I have a lot going on right now in my personal life. And I can't bring myself to go back out and cause harm to myself and to a situation that doesn't deserve to have harm caused to it. So.
I understand. Thank you. And how about you? What is it that you go for to cope? What is your way of no longer reaching for the drug, for the drink? What is it that you're reaching for now to fill the void?
Well, you're absolutely right, Latoya. Life is happening without my drugs and numbing myself, and my recovery is like this. It's a roller coaster right now. I used to reach out to my sister a lot, for support, and sometimes it's good to step outside of family. It can be tiring for family. But now, like I wasn't very keen in the beginning at living with 20-something women in a sober house, but now it feels good to come home to smiles and people there. And if I have a craving, I have my therapist, I have you, I have group, I have NA and AA, but I also have the women in the house that I trusted to be able to go to with what I may be feeling. You know, for example, on the car ride here, prime example, you know, I'm driving, and I just said, so how you doing? You doing all right? You know what I mean? Just a simple, like, check-in. You know,
Right.
she can choose what she wants to share with me, doesn't want to, but just a simple check-in to know, hey, like, your girl's here, I'm here for you, and you can come to me, and it's vice versa, which is a solid feeling.
Okay, and that's called accountability. It's also called fellowshipping. And you mentioned going to the fellowship meetings, you mentioned support like groups. So you have a whole lot of things that you do to
Correct.
fill that void.
Correct.
Because that's what I really want to talk about here today is the void that's created behind leaving your drug behind.
Correct.
You know, because what people don't understand is when you're not choosing to not be with your family.
Right.
Your intentions is to be there for Christmas. Your intentions is to show up when you say you will.
Right.
Your intentions are to pick up your children. The drug is your love. It's your best friend. It is your employee. It is your employment. It is your business. It is your soap and water. It is your food.
job.
It is everything. Sunshine, sundown, rain, sleet, snow. That void is huge. What are you putting in place of that void?
I am an avid softball player. I've been playing since T-ball. I've played on the Sober League the past few years. Since the season is in, I love playing softball. And if I'm not on the field, then I'll go to the cages just to crank some softballs, let some of that stress out, or just getting the endorphins going. But I haven't been to the cages yet this season, but just, you know, actively doing that, yeah. They say move a muscle, change a thought.
Yes.
You know, move a muscle, change a thought. So it's always good to be doing that. But yeah, softball it's a great high. It's a healthy high.
That's right. It's a natural high.
That's right.
What do you do to fill the void?
So for me, it started off just with a lot of work. Going to work, doing my meetings, doing my groups, reaching out to people. But, you know, if we turn it into what I like my voids to be filled with, as like Jenny has a hobby, mine is training horses. You know, I've ridden since I was 4. I was on the junior Olympic team, so that's what I really want to get back into. So I do a lot of like outreach to, you know, my old trainers, the old people that I used to ride with that have farms. And, you know, I'm trying to get into a position where, since my kids live on the other side of the state, that's where I grew up, now that I can go out there and see them, maybe start going back and seeing some of those old people and visiting their farms and getting back into that. Because for me, it's great to be around people, and I enjoy being around them and helping them with their problems and everything. But sometimes, like, you just need that escape. Like I never had that escape. It would take me 3 hours sometimes of sitting by myself and hiding from people to get my fix. And I'd rather take that 3 hours and just be out on my horse in the woods, you know, going as fast as I can and just feeling that actual freedom and being on a creature that you technically can't control. I mean, their heads weigh over 150, 200 pounds. You're not going to jerk a creature like that. But just being one with something that's healthy, like her with her softball.
Yeah, being one with that ball.
Yeah. So those are things that you can plan to do to fill the void, right? You get a phone call that's disastrous, and you're on your way to work, to a meeting, and something happens and it puts you in a state of a crisis immediately. What's happening? What are we doing?
Well, my emotions are going all over the place. Number one, stomach's turning, and instantly in the past, which I have to retrain my brain, is go to your drug, because that's going to make you feel comfortable, which that obviously isn't the answer. So you want to put steps in place prior to that, and you want to be picking up the phone and calling your sponsor, and if your sponsor doesn't pick up, you're calling the next person, and if that person doesn't pick up, you're calling the next person. But I can guarantee you 1 out of 3 is going to pick up, and just let them know where you are and how you're feeling and what you're feeling and what happened, and talk the process through, and play the tape.
That's right.
Play the tape as to where you're going to get if you decide to pick up and use.
Thank you for the process that you just gave, because you said prepare
Prepare.
before a crisis.
That's
Don't
right.
wait for the crisis and not know what to do.
Your lifelines.
prepare before the crisis.
Correct.
Huh.
For me, a lot of it has to do with like impulse control. Like she said, you know, having those people that you can reach out to, and like your example, like you get a phone call on your way to work and like the most devastating thing happened. For me, it would be to make those calls, but not deter from my original plan. Because if I deter from that original plan and I don't show up to work, on top of that crisis that I just had happen, the next crisis is going to be I don't have my job. And the list is just going to keep going from there.
Huge.
My life goes to.
That's
real
right.
quick,
Yeah.
Real quick, it goes down.
Right,
real
from
quick.
100 to 0.
From
Not 0 to 100,
like,
100 to
24
0.
hours, everything's gone. Yeah.
Handle
Right.
what you can at that moment
Yeah.
and realize you're not going to be able to solve the situation. So process it, handle
Take a
it,
step back,
Yeah.
process.
and even explaining, like, if you are on your way to work, like, hey, listen, like, I might be having an off day, got a really bad phone call trying to deal with some stuff, but I'm still here. So just bear with me. There's been times where I've had to do that. I'd be like, listen, I'm just having an off day. I'm not trying to be a jerk,
Right,
but
right.
I may be a jerk, you know, and just take it with a grain of salt because that's just how I'm feeling.
Because I can bet you the alternative of like picking up, you know, and just to numb that for 30 seconds or whatever is going to feel a billion times worse an hour from then, with this just filled with disappointment and frustration and just awful feelings for yourself. You know, if you could, I'll tell you if I can share real quick. My first, the first time and I've had relapses and you know, and this is why I'm here to share. But the first time I picked up the phone, I was craving. I was fingernail biting for a drink or a line of cocaine. But the first time I picked up the phone and I called my sponsor, that passed, and the feeling of not picking up was greater than picking up. You know, I mean, and the thoughts out, it was there, but it wasn't manifesting in me, and it was like, oh, you did it. Oh, you can do it. You can do it. You know, it feels, it's a feeling of pride inside.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Self pride.
And like,
And
kind
if
of,
somebody calls, like if she was to call me and say that she was, I'd have a feeling of pride for her. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? Let
that's
her
right.
know, I'm proud of you. You picked up the phone. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength.
That's right.
one of the things that just kind of came to my mind is like reservations, right? Like, I was like, well, if this happens around my wedding and things like that, like, we can consider those kind of like that catastrophic phone call. You know, like, you may have a reservation, like, well, if this happens, I'm going to go out and use. Instead of going out and using, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do to prevent it. You know, having that plan put in place. And as hard as it is to do, like, you're going to have to force yourself to do it. Because sometimes it's not easy to get up out of bed. Sometimes it's not easy to do the right thing.
Right.
But once you push yourself to, like she said, the amount of pride, like everything that you feel for yourself and accomplishment is more gratifying than any other feeling, I think.
Yeah. And it's not right away. You know, that feeling doesn't come right away.
Right.
You know? Your disease didn't come overnight. You know, it progressed. So those feelings aren't going to come right away. But like, I can be on TV right now and share with the audience that's listening and both of you that it does get better. It does get better gradually, day by day. Nobody wakes up, oh, I've got this. It's going to be continuous work for the rest of our life, but it does get easier, and you do get more comfortable with who you are as you learn as a person.
That's right. And they have this thing where the suggestion is not to make any major decisions in the first year. Nowhere does it say relationship. I'm just letting you know that right now. It doesn't say that, but what it says is major decisions, which probably puts relationships right in there, right?
Yeah.
And the reason that is because even before the drug, if you had a heartache, there's no drug on this planet that can take that away. You're either going to be in the fetal position listening to sad-ass music over and over and over again, even before the drug. That's how people handled breakups.
Yep.
So you take away your first love, which is your drug, because we've now leaned on that for so many things and so much time, and you get into a relationship, and you find out he in a relationship with another relationship and another relationship, and now you're in pain.
Correct.
Right?
Right. Correct. Yep.
And going to ride horses is not going to damn do it.
No, actually, relationships have always been what's taken me out.
Let's talk about that.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, and I can't say that
No,
I
please
agreed
don't,
with
yeah, don't.
the
Anyways.
1 year thing, because I am in one right now.
Yeah.
But like, I've grown as a person. But my thing was always like, well, if you're gonna do this, then I'm gonna go out and use, and you made me because of this, and nobody did. I did, and my actions, the things that I did, the things that I said, caused those things. And maybe it was 50-50 or whatever, but in the long run, by me threatening to, well, if you leave me or if this happens, I'm not hurting anybody but myself. Like, it's not going to make them come back to me. It's not going to fix anything. And that's always what's been to take me out, is a relationship. You know, like, I'll share about my youngest. Like, his father had gone to jail, and I was raising him by myself. And when his dad got out, he didn't want to see him. So I started drinking, because alcohol gets out of your system faster, right? DCF, they'll call me, and I can stop drinking. Alcohol wasn't my thing, but that wasn't the case. And I started using. And, well, you left us, so now I feel this way. And it's sabotage. Not just that, but I wound up going to court smelling like a brewery and losing my son. So I sabotaged myself. And that's what our disease likes us to do a lot of the time, is self-sabotage when things start to go good. I mean, I had the apartment. I had my kid. I had a job. I was self-sufficient. But I was still codependent. And can honestly say, like, now, today, like, I'm no longer codependent. Do I want, there to be any problems? Do I want to have to be on my own? No. But I came here on my own, and I started up on my own.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to ask you, so being in the professional world and having to face off with your own issues of substance abuse, or it carries a form of insecurities, feeling inadequate, not as confident. How do you get those things back?
Well, I think it's important, and I want to correct something here. It's called 13 Step in it. And when I was first on your show, you had asked me, what my recovery looks like, and I had said no relationship. And I'm in one, and I don't highly recommend it for anybody, because the thing is that I'm still learning about myself. Nevertheless, how can I give to someone else, when I don't know about me,
Right.
So it's like now I'm doing double work, to make sure that I'm okay, and I'm, keeping my recovery first. And I apologize. Your question was, I kind of got sidetracked. Repeat that again, I'm sorry.
I don't think I can. It
Yeah.
comes straight from God to you.
Okay.
So, but what I will ask you is, what do you do for yourself when you find yourself going off track?
Thankfully, today I've learned like coping skills, mechanisms, and steps where I can bring it back. Like bring it back, Jenny. Rewind. I think about how sick I was.
Okay.
How sick I was in detox physically, mentally, and how I was living like a selfish lifestyle and so alone. Although I had numerous amounts of family that loved me, I was still alone in there. And try and remember those feelings. One that flashes back to me is, I know I bring up my sister a lot, but she was tired. She's tired of watching her baby sister go through this. And we never not have a good relationship. When we don't, it's because I'm using, or it's just her things, but that's very minimal. And I remember looking out my bedroom window about 7-8 months ago, and we were barely talking, and it was because of my behavior. And I was coming down at the time, and I was pacing, and I'm like, my sister hates me. Oh my God, my sister hates me. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, Jackie. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And just the feelings of desperation, of being like, oh my God, I just want to go hug her, and I want to feel the hug, and I want to feel it, So trying to, and I'm gonna say it again, rewind the tape. Rewind the tape and remember where you came from and the feelings that you had. And try not to sit in them for too long, but sit in them long enough where you can check yourself
Right.
and be like, yep. and
Don't
then
push through it.
Don't push through and then keep moving forward.
So I guess that God wants you to have this question because it must mean something for your life. So I asked you about insecurities
Correct.
and feeling inadequate, being a woman that used to be in the professional world.
Correct.
What are you doing to recreate your security in yourself?
I'm working with my therapist a lot with that. I have a tendency of saying I'm sorry all the time, and that shows a big sign of insecurity, and half the things I'm doing don't need them. I'm sorry, which, and addiction breaks you of everything, so it made me insecure of whether am I liked, am I not liked, do I even like myself? You know what I mean? And learning little by little that I do deserve good things. I do deserve to live a happy, healthy life, and be good to myself. I have to check myself every day. Yeah, I do look at myself in the mirror some days. Some days I don't like me. I don't like what I've lived. But I also make sure that I'm also doing some self-care too, to make sure that I can, make sure that I'm okay and I'm healthy and I'm not a bad person. I was just born with a disease, and I don't have to be that hard on myself.
I love it. I love it. We are out of time, ladies.
What?
Like
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
Wow.
So I wanted to say to you both, whenever you get into something that's really hardy, it goes fast.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here
Thank you.
Thank you.
and reaching out to our community
Of course.
and allowing them to see inside your life of recovery, because that's what it's like. They're easy to show the other side and the negativity of recovery,
That's right.
and we need to show that we do recover and it can be a positive
Correct.
thing.
And we're out of time, but not out of hope.
There you go.
Yes, that's
I
right.
love it. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate you for coming today.
Well, thank you,
Thank
Latoya.
you, Latoya.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Recovery Life. Ciao.